Hi, everyone. Welcome to Inspired Aspirations. My name is Philip Baker, and I'm joined today by Gretchen Ehrlichman. Say hi, Gretchen.
Hey.
So today we're going to be talking a little bit about prayer and friendship and our understanding of how those two things play in together. So Gretchen, what was it that in our conversation kind of around prayer made you go like this is what we should be recording about?
So Philip and I were talking earlier, and we started talking about prayer, and I realized that prayer seems just to be something that we really don't talk about. We don't talk about with anybody outside of our spiritual directors or confessors, but there is an importance in being able to talk to close friends about your spiritual life, about prayer, because in that way you can journey together. And I always have just thought about prayer as being something like, your bank account. People just don't talk about it. It's like it exists, it's there, it's personal, and you just keep it under wraps. Sometimes you make small little hints to it, but we never really talk about it explicitly as something as part of our lives. But I do think this is important, and I think this says something to how we can grow spiritually and how we can cultivate friendship with others on a spiritual level as well.
Well, like you said, with it being like like our bank accounts, it's not something we talk about. I think you're the first person that I really had any kind of conversation about, you know, my prayer life and kind of what it's, not so much about like that I'm praying, but like how it feels as I'm praying. Because in my mind, it was like, well, you just don't do that. And I think, we were talking about this a little bit, but part of it is, that you don't want to give a false expectation of it. Because I think sometimes as we talk about prayer, it's like, well, that person's experiencing that thing, right? Like St. Faustina is having these like incredible raptures and I'm not. So like clearly I'm just the most miserable bag of sin ever and I'm not going to go to heaven. Um, and that we can have those, I think, false expectations of what prayer is like or should be like. And I don't know, but do you think that having conversations about it with friends can in some way help with that?
Yeah, I think with very close friends, it's very helpful because they can help you to discern how you are growing in virtue, how your prayer life and your spiritual life is helping you grow as a person. I think your friends can give you objective feedback on how you're doing. Are you just like miserable and a total grump, or are you growing in virtue and like you happen to be washing the dishes even though you weren't supposed to? And like your friends can assess this for you and help talk you through how you're growing in virtue and how you're growing spiritually. And I think, as you had brought up, kind of expectation wise, I think true friends can be very respectful and be very open to realizing that you are different, because it's the closer of friends you are, the more different you see yourselves, and that's beautiful, right? That fosters friendship. It's not a bad thing; it's a good thing. And I think it helps bring your awareness of how we are different, but how we are also the same. And I think through friends, you can gain a greater self-awareness. And that helps to open you up to realizing that, yes, we are all different and our prayer experiences are going to be different. And it's kind of like the colors of a rainbow or something, that each shade kind of blends into the next, and that you see these different shades, but all of those shades are necessary to make the full color scheme. And I think friendship that helps foster spiritual growth and growth in virtue is going to bring you to being the truest and brightest color that you can be.
I think two thoughts around that. One, kind of a personal story from my own discernment, and then another one about prayer more generally with friendship is, that it's by friendship, like you said, that we come to know ourselves a little bit more. So one of the reasons that I was like, maybe I should be looking into religious life is my three closest friends in college kept making jokes about, oh, Father Philip, Father Philip. And I was like, nope, not at all. And then finally one day I was like, what do they see that I can't see in myself? Because, we're mysteries to ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there's something in this that our friendship with other people also can teach us something about, prayer, because prayer is how we enter into friendship and relationship with God, which is what we were made for, and entirely contingent upon upon God's first drawing us into prayer. Like the prophet Isaiah says, as high as the heavens are above the earth, so high are his ways above our ways. And then like, how on earth could we think to approach him? But that it's the Spirit that pulls us into prayer, and then like into that friendship with God and makes that possible, and that we can get an analogous sense of this, I think, through prayer, through friendship.
Yeah. And I think it's keeping in mind that, with true friends, you all want each other's good, right? We want the best good for each other. So we all want each other to get to heaven. So we're going to put aside our own kind of selfish expectations or jealousy or, envy or any of those things that can be temptations. We're going to put those away, because in true friendship, we do want the good of each other. And that good is Christ, that good is heaven, and that good is the beatific vision. So we're going to do whatever we can to help each other become the best, being we can be, but also to bring us to the spiritual heights and the holiness that God has made us for. And we'll rejoice in that. Like, we'll rejoice. We're not going to be like, oh, you got a higher space in heaven than me. Like, what's going on? No, it's like, oh my gosh, I'm rejoicing because we are here together giving glory to God.
Like St. Paul says, we rejoice in the good of others.
Yeah, exactly. So, yeah, I think talking about prayer with friends is a wonderful thing. I don't mean that you're going to talk to everybody about your personal prayer life, but people, those special people that you meet in your life who, have the same goal, have their eyes set on the same end. And as you grow in friendship, you help each other along the way. Like, we are made as communal beings. And I think if we all have our eyes set on God, then we can help each other get there.
And I think so too. Just one last thought about, it's a very vulnerable thing to try and talk about, right? Like when I first started talking about prayer with you, it was like, whoa, this feels weird, but like to not be afraid of those vulnerable conversations, because in fact, those can lead us to deeper friendship with other people, greater understanding of ourselves, and, best of all, I think, a closer relationship with God, and that someone just needs to take the first step to open up that door to that vulnerable conversation. And then before long, I think we'll actually be very glad that somebody did.
Yeah, I agree. Awesome. Well, that's about all the time we have today, but thank you for inviting us on Inspired Aspirations. I'm Gretchen.
I'm Philip.
And if you found this at all edifying or even slightly entertaining, please share it with your friends, family, colleagues, coworkers, coronavirus fellows, anybody. And we'll see you next time on Inspired Aspirations. Don't forget to
think Catholic, speak Catholic, be Catholic.
God bless.